Have you ever heard the phrase butter wouldn't melt in one's mouth? It's a common English idiom that can be confusing for non-native speakers. Let me share a funny story that illustrates how this idiom can be misunderstood. Imagine a new student, Maria, who takes the idiom literally. One day, Maria's teacher says, "Look at how polite and innocent Maria is, butter wouldn't melt in her mouth." Maria thinks, "Wait, why would butter melt in my mouth? That doesn't make sense." So, what does butter wouldn't melt in one's mouth actually mean? It's a figurative expression that suggests a person appears calm, innocent, or mild-mannered, even though they may have a more complex or mischievous nature. Let's see an example of how this idiom is used correctly. Imagine Maria's teacher praising her for her polite behavior in class, saying, "You're so well behaved today, Maria. Butter wouldn't melt in your mouth." Here are some more examples of how to use butter wouldn't melt in one's mouth in different contexts. In a casual conversation, she acts all innocent, but butter wouldn't melt in her mouth. In a formal setting, the CEO presented a calm, collected image, as if butter wouldn't melt in his mouth. In a negative context, don't let his sweet demeanor fool you, butter wouldn't melt in his mouth. In a humorous context, she's as pure as the driven snow, or at least that's what she wants you to think. Butter wouldn't melt in her mouth. In a literary context, the protagonist's angelic appearance belied her true nature, butter wouldn't melt in her mouth. In a business setting, the salesperson had a disarmingly polite manner, as if butter wouldn't melt in their mouth. On social media, she acts all innocent on Instagram, but butter wouldn't melt in her mouth, if you know what I mean. To help you remember the meaning of butter wouldn't melt in one's mouth, think of a person who appears so calm and collected that they seem incapable of any wrongdoing. Like butter that wouldn't melt even in their mouth. The idiom butter wouldn't melt in one's mouth dates back to at least the late 16th century, and is used to describe someone who appears innocent or demure but may be deceitful or manipulative underneath. Today, the idiom highlights the contrast between a person's seemingly innocent demeanor and their potentially cunning nature. Some similar idioms to butter wouldn't melt in one's mouth include as pure as the driven snow, holier than thou, all sweetness and light. These idioms also suggest a person who appears innocent or virtuous on the surface, but may have a more complicated nature. On the other hand, opposites of this idiom could be a wolf in sheep's clothing, hiding behind a mask, all bark and no bite. Let's try using the idiom in a sentence. The CEO spoke in a soft, measured tone, as if butter wouldn't melt in his mouth. Now, let's rephrase it without the idiom. The CEO spoke in a calm, collected manner, despite the controversy surrounding the company. I remember a time when a colleague used the idiom butter wouldn't melt in her mouth to describe our boss during a tense meeting. It was the perfect way to convey how our boss maintained a polite, unruffled demeanor, even as tensions were high. A common mistake when using butter wouldn't melt in one's mouth is to say butter can't melt in one's mouth. This is incorrect, as the idiom is about the appearance of innocence, not the literal inability for butter to melt. Another mistake is to use the idiom to describe someone who is genuinely innocent or pure. The idiom suggests a more complex, potentially mischievous nature beneath the surface. Let's test your understanding of butter wouldn't melt in one's mouth with a few questions. 1. What does the idiom butter wouldn't melt in one's mouth suggest about a person? A. They are extremely cold-hearted. B. They have a calm, innocent appearance. C. They are incapable of telling a lie. Correct answer, B. 2. Which of these expressions is synonymous with butter wouldn't melt in one's mouth? A. A wolf in sheep's clothing. B. As pure as the driven snow. C. All bark and no bite. Correct answer, B. 3. Which of these expressions is antonymous to butter wouldn't melt in one's mouth? A. Hiding behind a mask. B. Holier than thou. C. All sweetness and light. Correct answer, A. In summary, butter wouldn't melt in one's mouth is a common English idiom that suggests a person has a calm, innocent, or mild-mannered appearance, even though they may have a more complex or mischievous nature. Understanding this idiom can help you communicate more effectively in a variety of contexts, from casual conversations to formal settings. Now it's your turn. Try using the idiom butter wouldn't melt in one's mouth in a sentence and share it in the comments. I'd love to hear how you're applying what you've learned today. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more English idiom lessons. Happy learning!